everyone and happy Sabbath. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there in person with you all today. I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Dominique. I am a Balham church member. I am also a mental health nurse by background, and I work at a mental health NHS hospital in Tooting. I guess some of you might be able to figure out what hospital that is. I will be providing some psychoeducation about postnatal depression, so that as a friend, a loved one, a family member, you'll be able to identify when a loved one is going through it and how to provide support. And this comes at a time where I have recently given birth to a baby girl. Her name is Alea, and she is now 4 weeks old, but will be 5 weeks old on Monday. And I just also want to share with you guys what my experience was, kind of like what the 4th trimester has been like for me so far. Postnatal depression is a type of depression that many parents experience after having a baby. It affects more than 1 in every 10 women within a year of giving birth, and can also affect birth partners and fathers. Some of you might have heard of the baby blues. Postnatal depression differs from baby blues. Most experience baby blues, about 8 in 10 women, and this occurs within 2 to 3 days after the baby is born, and typically lasts up to 2 weeks. It is often caused by hormonal changes after giving birth, when estrogen and progesterone suddenly decreases, causing mood swings. Additionally, lack of sleep and not eating well can impact these feelings. Emotional well-being can also trigger baby blues. You may be nervous about taking care of your new baby, or be worried about how your life has changed since the baby was born. These thoughts can make you feel sad or depressed. Baby blues often goes away within 2 to 3 weeks after giving birth, as the mother quickly learns to adapt to her new life and responsibilities. You also would not need any interventions by a healthcare provider or medical professional. Postnatal depression, on the other hand, is more severe. It lasts longer and requires intervention from a medical or healthcare provider. It can start at any time within the first year of giving birth. The symptoms are as follows: being afraid of staying alone, having an overpowering sense of guilt, sadness, or panic which is persistent, so it continues throughout. You are crying, you're anxious, or you're worrying a lot. You're feeling hopeless and not good enough. There is a lack of energy and difficulty concentrating and making decisions for you and your baby. There's a loss of appetite, weight loss, or weight gain. There's also a lack of enjoyment, loss of interest in the wider world, and in hobbies and the things that you previously enjoyed as well. There's also poor sleep at night, and being sleepy during the day. There's also the symptom of finding it difficult to look after yourself and your baby, withdrawing and isolating yourself from others, having frightening and scary thoughts, for example, about hurting yourself or your baby. These symptoms all start within 1 to 3 weeks of giving birth, and any time up to a year, and obviously needs treatment to get better. Those are the postnatal depression symptoms. On the other hand, baby blues symptoms consists of feeling restless or anxious, being impatient or grumpy, crying for no reason, feeling like I'm not myself today, difficulties concentrating, mood changes inclusive of irritability, sadness, lack of sleep, possible relationship problems, and stress can also cause the baby blues. These symptoms starts within a few days of giving birth, however goes away on its own within a couple of weeks. Please be mindful also that postnatal depression can develop gradually on from baby blues. The causes of postnatal depression are not completely clear. However, it has been noted that if you have a history of mental health problems, particularly depression earlier in life, this can make you more susceptible to acquiring postnatal depression. You may also struggle with postnatal depression if you have a history of mental health problems during pregnancy. Additionally, a lack of close family or friends to support you, relationship difficulties, recent stressful life events such as bereavement or job loss, and physical or psychological trauma such as domestic violence or abuse. And even if you do not have any of these symptoms or previous experiences, having a baby is a life-changing event that can sometimes trigger depression. It often takes time to adapt to becoming a new parent, and looking after a baby can be stressful and exhausting. I'm now gonna share with you guys my experience after giving birth to my daughter Alea. As a mental health nurse, I was able to quickly recognize that I was experiencing what was being referred to as baby blues. When I was on the postnatal ward, I received a very short and quick demonstration of how to breastfeed, and it was as if they expected both Alea and myself to just figure out how to do this going home. So figuring out how to latch her, how to express the milk, and how to just feed her. And this was not the case. And having gotten home, I ended up with extremely sore nipples and cracked nipples. This is probably too much information, but I thought it would be good to be transparent with who might actually be experiencing this. I ended up with extremely sore and cracked nipples that I felt compelled to continue breastfeeding and pumping, as I was worried that she was not being fed adequately. No one had actually prepared me for just how horrific, and I repeat how horrific, personally, the first stages of breastfeeding would be. I broke down on numerous occasions regarding this, often crying in my husband's arms, laying on his chest, sobbing inconsolably. And he would often comfort me and tell me, don't worry, you've got this, God made you for this, you'll be able to feed her successfully. And I was like doubting Thomas. I could not believe that I would be able to overcome the first hurdles of actually just feeding her and getting used to what breastfeeding felt like. Typically, I was hypervigilant that she would feel kind of like the anxiety and the frustration that I was feeling every time she would approach, the breast or the cracked nipples that I was trying desperately to heal so that I could actually feed her. So I was worried that she would feel that, and on occasion she did feel it, because she would cry constantly, and she would be, like myself, inconsolable. However, quite luckily for me, I had my husband and my mother around to be able to support me and just, take her, hold her, walk down the corridor with her whilst I was able to get myself together. I also sought advice from friends and family members who kindly opened up to me about their own experiences and provided tips and advice on what would help, and also encouraged me to just, actually persevere, because it will get better. I couldn't see that at the time. In addition to the difficulties that I was having with breastfeeding, I struggled with the lack of sleep and routine. I'm a nurse, so doing things by routine is just drilled into me. I like to know what I'm doing at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, etc. And I became impatient, I became grumpy with others. And as my family and very close friends know, when I have no sleep, I'm very irritable. And I really struggled with the late night feeds. And I felt compelled to express by pumping to fill her bottles, which meant I was not giving myself enough time to heal, because the combination of pumping and breastfeeding it just does not do me good. And so that meant that I was not giving myself much time to heal, and by the time I'd done either breastfeeding or pumping, she would wake up again and the routine or the process would just repeat. So then it left me no time to sleep or rest. This was then compounded by the fact that I tried really hard to get in contact with the breastfeeding team. I struggled to get through to them for the first 2 weeks. I called them continuously, I was not able to get through. There was outdated information of like their classes or their sessions. They did not return my phone call, they did not return my voicemail. It got to the point where my husband actually drove me to the hospital to attempt a face-to-face contact at their office. That turned out unsuccessful. I finally received support from them by about week 3 after giving birth. When I finally met with the lactation specialist, I was finally able to receive a one-to-one session, and I learnt numerous techniques that would enable us to have a better breastfeeding session for the both of us. So just to summarize what helped me, I began taking supplements which would boost my milk production. So this was fenugreek powder and marshmallow root, which came by suggestion by a few friends that I spoke to. I also used some lactation biscuits that had in the relevant ingredients that would help to boost my milk supply. Secondly, I implemented a feeding schedule and routine, which allows time for me to rest, for my husband to support with feeds, and also incorporate stimulating activities for her. So this made me so happy because it just meant that, you know, as a nurse, I would know what I'm doing from 7 a.m. straight through to 8:30 when I'm running my shift. So I'm able to kind of parallel the two. So I now have a really good feeding schedule and activity schedule, which both her and myself are becoming accustomed to, and so I can tell like when the next feed will be. It also goes without saying, eating a healthy diet and a balanced diet and eating regularly as well will also help your mental health and emotional well-being. It also allowed for me to have my own self-care time, which is really, really important so that you can look after your own mental well-being and emotional well-being. I also found it really useful speaking to other mothers who had just given birth around the same time. This allowed us to bounce ideas off of each other, to kind of discuss what has been working, what has not been working for us, as well as obviously speaking with experienced family members and friends who have also been through the process. I also did a lot of reading, a lot of research for myself to find out what I could trial to see what would work best for us. So for example, nipple creams, I found that using a herbal nipple cream was excellent to aid recovery process. I also attempted to use nipple shields. I didn't find that very helpful at all because it interfered with kind of her latching technique. However, nipple guards, on the other hand, were a better fit for myself. And also ensuring that you have the correct flanges, very funny name, but having the correct flange insert for your pumping device will help tons to express your milk quicker. I also utilised my health visitor, the community midwife, and obviously the lactation specialist. Support are available via those routes. It also goes without saying that it is really, really helpful and useful if you have supportive family members. So I can't thank my husband and my mother enough. They have been outstanding. And also just going out for walks or just light exercise, that has also been helpful to kind of reset and recalibrate my mental state. I am now happy to say that as week 4 comes to a close, we have turned a corner and now nursing sessions are significantly less painful. Milk supply is at a surplus and we continue to bond well together, and I no longer cry. So moving on to treatment for postnatal depression. As mentioned, treatment also includes self-help. For example, talking to your family and friends about your feelings and what they can do to help. Also making time for yourself to do things you enjoy. Resting whenever you get the chance. This is absolutely important. Getting as much sleep as you can at night. Exercising regularly and eating a healthy diet. Accessing psychological therapy via your GP. They may be able to recommend a self-help course or refer to therapies such as CBT. And also, as mentioned before, medication may be recommended. If your depression is more severe or alternative treatments have not helped, the medication would also be safe to take whilst breastfeeding, but this is absolutely your choice, just to ensure that you have all the information available to you so that you can make an informed consent. Services: get in touch with your community midwife, your health visitor and your GP. Obviously this will be specific to your borough's locality. And also I know that within the Wandsworth borough where our church is based, we have a perinatal mental health service. It's an 18+ service for the London boroughs of Wandsworth, Merton, Sutton, Kingston and Richmond. It consists of a multidisciplinary team of clinicians with specialist training and expertise working in the community to address complex mental health needs of women in the perinatal period. The primary aims of the service are to improve the health and well-being of women, their babies and their wider families through increased awareness of mental illness in women during pregnancy and after childbirth, early identification of those women who have or are at risk of mental health problems, and provision of effective care and evidence-based interventions. Additionally, it is likely you will have a similar service within the borough that you live. So whether that's within Lambeth, you should have a similar perinatal mental health service that you can access. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been educational and helpful for those of you who weren't familiar with what postnatal depression is or what baby blues are. I just want to leave you with: try to summon all of your powers to look up and not down at your difficulties, then you will never faint by the way. You will soon see Jesus behind the cloud reaching out his hand to help you, and all you have to do is give him your hand in simple faith and let him lead you. See you later guys, bye.